which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first, and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? Lest haply, after he hath laid the foundation, and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him, saying, This man began to build, and was not able to finish. Or what king, going to make war against another king, sitteth not down first, and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an embassage, and desireth conditions of peace. I was thinking about the conditions in the world as they stand. Today is the feast day of Saint Patrick. It's Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. And I'm thinking about the war in the Middle East, which was started by the Israelis and the American administration unilaterally. And the recent pleas that have been coming from the Trump administration for assistance in securing the shipping lanes through that area, the Straits of Hormuz and the wider area. I think of the last year, particularly the last year since the inauguration of the President Donald Trump's second term, and the stance that his administration has taken towards both NATO and trading partners and the world generally, basically making derogatory statements, publicly shaming world leaders, sending his emissaries to various parts of the world to rant and engage in public temper tantrums, berating everybody and everything. And now Trump and the American administration, and by extension we can assume the Israelis, are in a pickle. They're in a bind. They bit off more than they could chew, seemingly, and now he's calling for help. There seems to be a profound lack of self-awareness and a lack of what we could think of as maturity and statesmanship and diplomacy. And I had the image in my mind. It's sort of like let's say there's a notorious playground bully who is always picking on everybody. He's like the school bully, and he just picks on everybody, and nobody's his friend really. There are kids who perhaps make alliances with him at certain times to avoid getting picked on, but nobody really likes him. He's the bully, and he he one day starts picking a fight with a certain kid in the playground, and the kid decides he's had enough of the bully, and actually decides to fight back and says, you know, this is going to be a day of reckoning. And the playground bully, assuming that this, kid, you know, poor kid from the wrong side of the tracks, he's just going to cave and let the bully beat him up and steal his lunch. And as soon as he realizes that the kid from the wrong side of the tracks is going to fight back, he immediately starts calling around for his, friends to come and help him. And all his friends are like, "Oh, he's getting what he deserves because he's been a thorn in our flesh for you know all this time. He was picking on us yesterday, and we were too chicken shit to stand up to him." And so this is what seems to be happening, and the narcissistic uh, temper tantrum that has become the norm for the American administration. It's I really think that the people around Donald Trump and the people around him actually believe what they're saying, and they don't seem to be able to stand outside of themselves, turn around, and look back and see how shallow and childish and immature they're they appear to outsiders looking on. And I'm not trying to be anti-American. I don't have really anything against American people. I, like I'm not anti-American in that way. But there seems to be this lack of self, a lack of introspection on the part of so many who support this sort of behavior in the wider world, and I just read a passage there from the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 14, verse 28, and on forward. And it seems to me that it's applicable, at least tangentially. And so the question becomes even more fundamental, not are our allies going to send us, you know, warships or some other, some sort of military assistance to escort ships through the region. Um, I don't see that happening. The question becomes, how long will it be until the ideology behind uh, the popular support that Trump has had, how long before that ideology begins to crumble and the support begins to evaporate? Because I can't see it going on uh, all through the summer as the war drags on and then into the fall. I don't see that continuing. I think there's going to be too much backlash at home for Trump to continue to pursue this. And there's going to have to be some sort of uh, buckling in the administration's line, and there's going to have to be a point at which they say we've reached, sort of the threshold. We can't cross this, and so we're going to just draw a line and stay on our side of the line, and this is where it's going to be. And what that will look like, I have no idea. But as I listen to the commentators in this, online, there's obviously different sides to every situation. People see the world through different eyes. Yet there seems to be two main sides to it. There's the Protestant Zionist notion that this is the will of God that Trump invade, and this is going to bring about some eschatological uh, events that they believe are imminent. And there's the other side uh, who resist that, and that side is divided into several camps. There are secular people, atheistic people, Jewish people. I'm on the Catholic side of that, but essentially we're saying no. This is not how you do international diplomacy. This is You don't go, shoot first, talk later. You talk first and try to work things out that way, because we need to take a sober, more nuanced view of things, and try to work things out peacefully. Blessed are the peacemakers, and so I do think there's been a surge of support for Trump initially, but I can't see it lasting indefinitely. There's going to be a point at which it begins to peter out, and maybe that we've already reached that point, and then it's going to be gone completely, or almost completely. There will always be some diehards who are in the bunker at the last, and then you know doomsday bunker type people who are willing to die for their dear leader. There'll always be those people, but you know, normal people who see other people, as equal humans with dignity and created in the image of God, like we need to be uh, speaking up for what we see as a grievous uh, wrong being done. And so it's not to say that Catholics or atheists or agnostics support Islamic dictatorships. It's not to say that we, like the way the Iranian regime has treated the people since 1979, or the way uh, Christians have been treated under Islamic rule, or Jews have been treated. Like, we're not saying that all is roses and rainbows and lollipops in the world, and that Trump is the greatest, problem in the world. Well, there are always problems, but is bombing the solution to these problems? Is there not a better way? Is there not a more sensible way? Is there perhaps even not a more expedient way? And of course, the Catholic view would be that, of course, there is, and it was laid out by Jesus. And that's a whole other theological debate, which can be easily looked up online. It's all the rage right now, is this business of the Catholic view of how you interpret Scripture, how you see the Old Covenant in relation to the New Covenant, and the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy in the New, and all of these things are a continuity. There's no ages of it's just this one thing, and it's a flow, and so this is the insuperable divide, I guess you could say, between the fundamental Christian Zionists and the Catholic faith. It's just it's it's a wall that you can't tear it down. It'll always be there. It's just the uh, fundamental superstructure. It is what it is, and I think it's going to prevail in the end. I know it will prevail in the end, but the tragedy of today is very real. The lives of innocent people being snuffed out, the damage and the destruction of infrastructure in all of the nations is completely unnecessary. And unfortunately, there seems to be no way to put the brakes on here right now. They're just going to have to run out of ammo, I guess. And when will that be? I don't know. It's like some kind of post-apocalyptic novel from the 60s. It's not good. So I just wanted to talk about that, kind of reflect on that verse from Scripture that are in Luke there. The king is going to go to war. He needs to count his men. He needs to know his enemy. And if he doesn't think he can do it, you need ambassadors to go. You need to talk it out. There's no point in going to fight and getting caught short of men, short of ammo. It's not good. And now here what we have. The U.S. is saying, oh, we don't need any help, but could you come and help us? It's childish. Childish. So here's hoping Trump can figure out his own mess, because it doesn't sound to me like there's going to be any help coming right away on his side. Take care.